Welcome back to the Our View podcast. On today's episode, I welcome my guest, Anuradha. Anuradha is the founder of SNEH India, a nonprofit that focuses on assisting those with disabilities in creating a sustainable livelihood through collaborating with them to sell their products. This is a great conversation. I hope you enjoy it. So I would like to welcome everyone back to another episode of the Our View podcast, where we aim to educate, raise awareness, and change the tone of conversation. I am very happy to welcome my guest today, Anuradha, and we are looking forward to having you on today and to share your story and the great things you are doing. And so welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Art Aston. It's really lovely. And it's so nice of you to have actually started something like this, where you're bringing so many people together to to basically voice about themselves. And definitely, I think they should be somewhere in the years and the months to ahead to change the tone of disability. Definitely. Hopefully, it should
Yes.
happen.
Yes, that is what we are aiming to do. And you are one of my very few international guests that I've had
Okay.
on that I've had on the podcast. And you and I, we were
Thank you.
discussing, we're
Mm.
recording this, it's Wednesday morning here in New Jersey, but it's Wednesday night where you are.
Nice.
So we were discussing the time difference and things last night just to make sure we were all lined up perfect with the correct time. So again, welcome to the podcast, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Same here. Same here.
Yeah. So to get started, can you tell us who you are? Who is Anuradha?
Okay. So, um, okay, I'm a special mother. That is what I would first like to define myself as. So, the human being in me completely had a transformation once my son was born. So he was born, and then we was diagnosed with a medical condition, and so he had developmental delay and epilepsy since he was 5 months, 6 months of age. And we were living in the like we were living abroad at that time, that is, we were in the Middle East. And this was in the year 2000, when of course the facilities were new and there was no Google. So we basically had to figure out what was happening with my son, and we realized that he had myoclonic jerks. So that was one of the severe forms of epilepsy and infantile spasms, which led to developmental delay. So then, when we relocated back to India just to use the support system, because obviously we were just newly married with, with an 8-month-old infant, and we realized, and the infant was having seizures every day, which is about like 100, seizures a day. So that Anuradha was, suddenly, woke up and realized that okay, there is a disability. And now this is something that I might have to live with for the rest of my life, because as I bring up my son, I also realize that I've become the primary caregiver. And so I realized that I need to understand more about what this whole thing that, which I didn't sign up for in life, but has basically come in. So there are only two ways of looking at it. Either I could sit and cry and brood and be very unhappy, or I can just decide, okay, fine. Now we have just been given this. Anyway, we have a lovely baby, which is who's otherwise very smiling and trying to be nice with you. So okay, there are other challenges of there's going to be motor development, there's going to be problems with speech delays, there's going to be a whole lot of gross motor issues, but nevertheless, it's a human life, and you've been blessed to be a mother, you're blessed to be a caregiver. So now what next? So let's look at it. So that Anuradha became very different from the Anuradha in her 20s to the Anuradha in her late 20s when she had a baby. Became a different Anuradha. And then that Anuradha obviously then started reading up slowly. Then it was the birth of the internet and the Y2K. Then slowly we understand. Then we came back. We went through a whole lot of doctors. And then we finally understood what the diagnosis means and what is the prognosis and what is it that we have signed up for the rest of our lives. So my husband and me, of course, initially like any other parent, it's a huge shock. But then we just decided, okay, now let's take it one day at a time and start. And now that has been 20 years. So my son is now 20 years old
Wow.
and he goes to occasional skill training. He's still nonverbal. He's still epileptic, but has become a man because he's 20 years old. He's got thoughts of his own. He's got a mind of his own. He's got his own way of being with people, and he's a very social child in spite of being nonverbal. He's a very affectionate person, and the last 20 years has taught me a lot about how we can do and what we can do. So it is primarily his journey. So I studied to be an accountant, basically a chartered accountant, which is an equivalent of a CPA in the United States.
Mhm.
So it's called a CA of India, the Indian Institute of Chartered Accountancy. So it is a very, like the CPA, it is sometimes very difficult to clear the exams. And once you have a CPA, obviously it's a nice thing to do because you go about auditing other people and it's a nice life. So that was what I studied to be. And I was doing that for a few years until he was born, and even for a few years after he was born. But then I realized that that was not giving me any satisfaction. So I used to take him to therapies and I started helping a special school, which is basically for children with autism. And I realized that there is a lot that could be done in the special need community. And 20 years ago or 15 years ago in India, still the facilities were very less. The therapies were just growing. The physical, even the studies, associated studies with either autism or dyslexia or, any kind of disability was just growing. People were trying to understand syndromes. People were not even aware of the, many of the terms that were used. Even infantile spasms was something very, very new. Obviously there was maybe, 1 in 5,000 or 10,000 actually knew there was something called infantile spasms and something called a syndrome. So we were talking about times like that. And then when I signed up to help, a special school in India, we call them non-government organizations that are NGOs. So which means, they work completely on funding with either the help from the government or they are, funded by private sector individuals. So I started helping this special school. I started as a parent volunteer and I slowly got associated with them and started taking care of some amount of the board. Then I just got into the board to help them a little better because I thought whatever my accounting contacts could, slowly help build the charity base for the school, and that's how we started. So I spent
Wow.
about 12 to 13 years helping the special need organization, basically a school. And meanwhile, my son also grew up. Yeah, okay, so he didn't go to that school, but slowly he also went to other schools with the therapy and all that. So, what happens is we realized that even to get a school for a special needs child is very difficult. It was very difficult in a place like India 15 years ago. And I'm not joking. If I'm talking about a metro where I'm living, I'm not even sure how things are in the, in the more underdeveloped, states and areas in the country. So it was very difficult, and it was very sad to see that even special educators, it was not a very sought after profession because obviously the pay scales were low and it was associated with charity. So not many were signing up to study, and they were. It was always a very non-balancing situation in the sense like it was only the affluent who could pay for therapies and go ahead. There were still some organizations which were funding, which were subsidizing the cost of therapies for many. So there was a lot of imbalance that we could see. And my heart always went out when I used to see this kind of an imbalance. I wouldn't say discrimination because it was not actually discrimination. It was just that the facilities were growing and people were not aware and trying to accommodate everything. So that Anuradha suddenly realized that, okay, I don't have to do anything with my accountancy because that's not something that's actually giving me the happiness when I go back home. But my association with this special school helped me meet parents, helped me meet other caregivers, helped me understand the so many different facets of the special need education, and the inequalities and the imbalances that existed. And that is when I decided that I wanted to completely get into the special need community, as in terms for the development of the community.
Wow. Yeah,
That's
I
what
I I love I love what you said that you know you you had your son 20 years ago and um you didn't sign up for this with with him having his medical conditions, but you found a way to help him, and then also you got involved to uh, figure out a way to help other families who were impacted by medical diagnosis, like your son, and different diagnosis as well. So I really, really think that is so great to hear you say that. Um, how you used your situation and your experience to better understand other families who were experiencing things similar to your family, and how how you just really took on that passion to to acknowledge that things were imbalanced. I love that that word. It's just really things have gotten better. It's the same thing here in the United States, 15, 20 years ago, and 30 years ago, and 40 years ago when I was born. They weren't all that great, and there's still a ways to go, but things are improving, and that is the progress is something that is worth mentioning and worth noting for sure. You and I, we follow each other on Instagram, and you have created something that is called the Special Needs Empowerment Hub, and that is SNEH. Can you explain to us what that is and how you came up with that idea, and what exactly does it do?
Okay. So Special Need Empowerment Hub is basically a networking of of as many of special need institutions that we can get into the hub, as well as individual parents, or who are working with their special need children, who are basically trying to get them to be entrepreneurs in whatever they can do. So the idea was to bring these people together. Because now, if I ask me why, so we'll start with that. See, when I was, as I said earlier, when I was working with this special school, of course, completely pro bono all along. But when we were going through this, we always realized that every school that we interacted with, or a center, was doing a lot for the for the education and the occasional training of the students. Everybody was doing their best, and every special educator and teacher there was giving their 200% to help the students. But what happened is, once they are 20 years old, or 18 to 20 years old, most of them have, they have learned what they can, right? And just like you and me, there is though you have learning lifelong, there are only certain skills that you are good at, that you can learn, that you can pick up. Supposing if I ask you what you are good at, you will have one or two things to say. And if I ask you, what are the things that you're bad at, you'll still have one or two things to say. Similar with me, whether it comes with a disability, or with with just ability. Everybody has one skill set that he or she is very good at, and there will be one or two skill sets which they are okay at, and there are a few that they just don't want to do. So we said, okay, now everybody at 18 or 20 is definitely going to be like that, and the disabled or the specially abled are no different, right? So there is no harm in using any of these terms, because they still have ability in whatever they are, whatever they are good at. So there is ability in everybody. So that is what we wanted to first identify. Most of the schools have identified that, and they know that if you go, they will tell you there is this boy who's very good at computers, he's very good at data entry. You go to another boy, he's very good at art. There's somebody else who can just sketch. There's somebody else who's excellent at carpentry. You give him a model, he will learn to put things together. You give him a cube, he'll learn to put it together. Now all this is like in pockets. So we said we will try and bring these pockets together, and try to create some kind of a job opportunity, sheltered employment opportunities, such that all of them are productively engaged. After 20, what does everybody do? Everybody requires some amount of job, right? You and me, like you and me, when we finished whatever we finished, we wanted to work somewhere. Irrespective of the money, it is the some kind of a dignity that you get, the independence that you get, that you want to put to use. Unfortunately, even the specially abled and the disabled person, persons with disabilities, they also feel the same thing. So there is nothing wrong, but there is no avenues. And today, mainstream employment is very, very difficult. We had tried that in school. We are very sure that just 1% of the total population with persons with disability can actually get into mainstream employment, because it requires a lot of compromise with the employer and the employee to be on the same page, to be working long term. So most of them come back after 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years, because I think the tolerance level is also difficult. And if they are slow, they are slow. If they're super fast, they're super fast. So, I mean, each one again has their own way of working and attitude. So, we realized that there was this gap. So there were people who were finishing a lot of skill training and occasional training in many institutes. They were very good at what they were doing, but they could not get a full-time employment. And because of that, they would also at some point be forced to leave the institution, because they would not be able to, pay the center fees, or the tuition fee. So they would be forced to drop out and stay at home. Then they found themselves feeling wasted, because they didn't have an opportunity to use whatever skill they had. For even if it's carpentry, or even if some kind of printing, art and work, somebody has to buy it from you, right? Then only then there is some amount of work that is generated. So we said, okay, let's bring all these different kind of skills together, and we will try and do it like a hub and spoke model, where we'll say we'll create the hub, we'll have these different people, so they can all work from wherever they are, so they can be attached to any institution, and we would give them either job orders, or we will take their items, try to convert them into products which will be on par with the commercial market. So we were very clear, we wanted to create this sheltered employment opportunities, and for which we said, instead of setting up the infrastructure and then asking everybody to join, we said we will get everybody to work on their skills first, and then let this itself take shape and get into its own infrastructure, its own setup, and pick up in the months and years to come. So this was our thought process since 2018. So when I stepped down from the special school which I was helping, I spent about 6 months trying to go visit many other centers, schools, in and around the city I live in, and as well as a few other neighboring states, just to see what is available today, and what are the different kinds of disabilities that are existing, and what are the skills that are associated with the persons with disability. So we were completely amazed to see that everybody had some good skill or ability in them. There was not a single person with disability whom we could say is getting wasted. No, I think they didn't have an opportunity. The lack of opportunity was what was getting them wasted. It was not that they were getting wasted. So we said we had to take this up. We have to, do something quickly. And that is how Special Need Empowerment Hub started. So we started with 5 institutions, because these are the 5 institutions like had actually worked with somewhere earlier. And we said, okay, you're 18 years and above. So they're all, technically adults as per
Mm-hmm.
definition. And they will all have a disability card as per the government of India. So we would first take them and identify the skills, try to create a market for the products that they are making, try to make products out of their skills, and take it to the commercial market. So the easiest thing to do is to start with the gifting sector. And that's how we started. So we first started with our Diwali gifting. So Diwali is the most important festival celebrated in India, like Christmas. So we have a lot of gifting that happens during that time. It's like as good as like something like Thanksgiving. So we have a lot of corporate gifting. We have like events gifting. So we said let's so we picked up small products from across the hub, from across the different spokes of the hub, and put them together as hampers and generated our first Diwali order. And when that picked up, we had a lot of confidence that people were coming back. And we also wanted to make these products, very aesthetic, as eco-friendly and sustainable as possible, because we're just growing. We can't immediately go into a non-plastic, non-reuse kind of a market. Eventually, we like to be there. But we first said we'll try and pick up all these products. And that is how the SNE came up. And we were thinking that we should use the word special need. And what were we doing? We were trying to empower them. And how are we doing it? Through the hub. So we said, let's simply put this together and call it Special Need Empowerment Hub. And incidentally, SNE in a Sanskrit word actually means love.
Wow.
So it's called Sneha. If I give it, the pronunciation of a Sanskrit, you say Sneha. So that means love. Sneham is actually love. So then we
Oh,
said, okay, things are just falling together. So when we did up our logo, we decided to put a heart about the snake.
yeah. Oh my
That's
gosh,
it. So that's how snake was born.
that is so great. Oh my goodness, that was wow. That is so cool. Oh my goodness. I love what you're doing because as you mentioned, it can be very difficult for people with disabilities to feel like as if they belong in their communities, and providing opportunities for them to first of all to show off their skills, because like you said, it can be, they can be artists, carpenters, and whatever else they want to be, but the opportunities um that stop, or I should say the obstacles that stop them from achieving these goals, and whether it be the price of school or being able to go to school because of their physical disabilities, for you to provide a place from wherever they are to show off their skills, make their products, produce their products, and to have a place for them to show off their abilities, I think is so important and very much needed. And I love the way that it all just came together. You have an internship in special parents entrepreneurs program. Can you tell a little bit more about that and what the focus and what the goal is of creating that program?
Okay. See, about the internship program, we basically want to create this visibility and, get more people out of their homes to come and participate in whatever skill they have. And we are only talking about persons with disabilities in this. So try to come and see, sometimes they have a skill. They have see they're very low on confidence on their skill also. So sometimes they feel they need more training. Sometimes they feel like we have people just making these traditional baskets, out of cloth, out of ropes, out of nylon. So that's a very basic weaving skill. So there's somebody who's sitting and doing it at home, but sometimes they feel that they lack the confidence in doing it well, or maybe they don't know how to design it, or they don't know how the 5 6 patterns of making those baskets. So our idea was like, if you're doing something, you join us. And easiest thing to do was to call them an intern, so that if they join this internship program, and when we are saying internship, we also felt we needed to pay them something for the value of the services that they are doing, so which would motivate them to come in, also get trained a little more on the skill if they are low on confidence, or if there are more opportunities to learn. And then the final product what they are doing, or the final service that they are rendering, is going to be with a lot of value addition. and for which we would want to pay them some amount which will at least, in today's world, help them with some amount of self maintenance. For example, they would have to sign up for some therapy, or they would still have to uh, you know buy food for a month, and they're already 25 or 30 years of age. The small amount of stipend or the money that we pay back to them would motivate them to come back the following months to pick up more work. So that was the main idea of this internship program, because to encourage people to come out of their comfort, or the discomfort zone, to come in and to understand that now this platform is only for the specially abled. It is only for persons with disabilities. So there needs to be no inhibition. Anybody can be at any level. You can be on a scale of from 0 to 9 in the spectrum, never mind. Just join us, and with whatever help we can, we will try to improvise whatever they are doing and try to bring it. So that is the whole idea of this internship program. Because if it's not like an Microsoft internship or an Amazon internship today, which is which actually maybe goes with some prerequisites to be an intern.
Mhm.
Here we are saying the only prerequisite is you have to be 18 years and above. You may have some amount of disability. That's it. So just come, and you have a skill, you just come, we let you know, we'll try to do. See, the idea with this is also we will be able to do capacity building. Because tomorrow, today we have four. Okay, now with the program we already have four interns signed up, because we just started again after the second wave. It's been a month now. We have four interns. So out of these four interns, we have found two of them are very good at doing painting. So they help us do the artworks, for the coasters and the trays that we are doing. So when two of them are doing, along with the institutions which are already helping, you understand the capacity just goes up. So when I started with 10 trays, today I'm easily able to do 400 trays, because I'm able to also have a process set for what are the colors that I'm using, what are the kind of artwork that we are doing. So we are able to kind of, somewhere streamline our operations. And it is nice for them because they are so happy to come and to do this work. Or wherever they are, if you are able to tell them this is how we try and do it online also, they pick it up and they are saying very happy, we will do this. Now we have four of them coming physically, because they just wanted to come out of their homes. They've been all stuck for a year and a half. So they wanted to come out and be at the center. So we have the rest of them still doing this online. So we found that people are really enjoying this interaction. Two, they are all slowly finding their peer group. So since we are saying 18 and above, most of them are coming in are between 80 and 30 now, 18 and 30 years of age. So they're slowly developing a new peer group. And so they also understand they have other interests which are in common. So it gives them a space for interaction. At the same time, it is giving them a job opportunity, and to have at least 6 hours in a day to be productively engaged.
Wow.
So that also results in a lot of behavioral changes. So there's a lot of feel good. So they feel very useful. They feel that little bit of that stipend, that that small pocket money that they are getting out of this, they feel nice. I think like anybody else, there is some amount of dignity when you have your own money. There's no two ways about it, right? So I don't think anywhere in the world people can deny that.
Right.
How much is a different question, whether it is like it's whether it is a dollar or 10 rupees, or whatever it
Yeah.
is. It's a nice thing. It's a good feeling. It's a feeling which promotes self-confidence, motivation, and we are trying to do is as healthy as we can get. So and also the families are feeling very happy, because they feel that their uh, you know their son and daughter, who was otherwise just now sitting at home, are slowly picking up some skill, and they are finding it useful, and they are also finding it to some extent remunerative. As we grow, when we are able to sell more, we would be able to make more surplus, and the surplus we only want to give back. because we are also a not for profit company. Though we have set it up as a company, it's called a not for profit company. So as per the terms, we only want to redistribute the surplus, the proceeds that we get. So we are also very happy, and that's the whole thing about this internship program. Why internship is this, and why we are including special parent entrepreneurs, is because there is a huge section of people today who are stuck at home. It happened even before the pandemic, and the pandemic has accelerated this entire scenario.
To wrap up our conversation, and I know we've already touched on so many parts of this already, but can you just share why you feel it is important to have programs like the Special Needs Empowerment Hub?
We want the specially abled community to be like any other community today in the world. So, as I'm sure we have seen so much in social media today. There is a lot of talk about ableism. There is a lot of talk about disability. There is, there are people who like to, not be called disabled. There are people who don't like the term persons with disabilities. And there are people who also feel intimidated if they are called special. So it is all, I think, today it's in the mind. And I think if at all the pandemic has taught us anything else, it's also that. Like, I think every attitude change, the mind change starts from within, right? So we all also never signed up for the pandemic, but we have spent the 2 years without people, without minimal social meeting, and a lack of physical activities, and we have realized we all survive, right? So we find ways and means and coping mechanisms, and everybody at the end of the day is fine. Of course, there's a struggle, but so we will not say inclusion, because there is no need for inclusion, because I think as I started the conversation, there is ability in every person. So which means there is ability in disability. So there is a skill in everybody. So I think we should, if we are talking about so much about positivity, and today the world is talking about creating impact in so many ways, I think we should all start with simple basic steps of accepting he or she the way he or she is. I'm not even saying this as a special mother. I'm just saying it like as any other person. I'm not even saying this for my son, because I think we have all, I think you and me would have crossed the thing to even try to convince somebody as to why we should be part of something, or why we shouldn't be part of something. So I think there is no need today to justify what you want or what you don't want. So whether you're able or disabled, you don't need to justify anything about it. So it's just a question of living together. Today, we have realized the world has come to a point where whatever it is, good or bad, pandemic or no pandemic, ability or disability, money or no money, everybody just have to learn to live together. Now, when this living together comes, I think with uh, with the special need community, it takes a little bit of more effort. Only the only reason being that uh, we are only trying to provide a platform to bring people together. So it's also happening in the underprivileged today. It is also happening in the marginalized communities today, where we are only trying to, take more efforts to bring this platform together. So just like anything else happening today, you're talking about saving the earth. We are talking about environmental issues, saving the environment. You're just taking extra efforts to do those things. So just like that, I think even for a specially abled community, you always have to take certain extra efforts to bring the community together for a very good, healthy, conducive growth and development, where at one point we all find peace and the harmony to live together, and stop having labels, stop being judgmental. Of course, it's very easy to say, but we might just, as we are talking, we always tend to judge the other. So it's not going to be easy to stop doing that, but we have to get conscious about it and say that it's a it's a common world, it's a common planet, Everybody has a right to live. You study, you don't study, you go to work, you don't go to work, you make merry, you don't make merry, never mind. But how do we live in harmony? How do we live in peace? So you have to have that happiness and peace for yourself. And finally, every human being only craves that as an emotional quotient. At the end of the day, you want to be happy. And I think the only way you can be happy is to just be in harmony and peace with yourself and the people around you. So with yourself may also come easily, but with the people around you, you might have to take some efforts. And that effort has to be mutual. And it is also a question when it comes to persons with disabilities to also accept ableism, for ableism to accept the disability and coexist. Today, like any other relationship, today we all have to agree to coexist, like how we coexist with plants and animals. Today we also have to coexist with each other. I think this is a something very actually, if you really sit and think, there's no philosophy or anything required. It's just simple, plain logic. If you finally need to do, we just need to eat, we need to live, we need to be clothed, we need to be happy, we need to have friends around, and we just need a good life. That's it. And good life, and the good has your own metrics, can have your own um, you know uh, parameters for it. You can define what your good is and be happy with whatever good you have. I think that's all we want to do, and that is why we feel that platforms like SNE would really help to bring lots of peoples together. It will help to bridge the gap wherever it exists, and slowly we will find a lot of boundaries dissolving, and this this oneness and wholeness actually coming together in harmony. We're going to understand what it means. People are going to come in with more understanding than what you and me had 20 years ago, 40 years ago. So there is more learning, and we have to use this good time to put things together so that there is always a platform for people to walk in, to feel very useful, to feel very encouraged, and to be happy.
This conversation is really amazing. I am so happy to have had you on today and
Thank you.
um, to share such great um, insight. And you really said a lot of things that I know touched me. Um,
Okay.
and I love what you just said about good has your own parameters. Like good for you is, might not be the same good for me, but whatever your good is, that's what it is for you, and that's okay. And just, reminding people to not judge other people and to accept any person just how they are. It's so important, and that goes, like you said, whether they have a disability or not. Just every person you encounter, accept them for who they are as they are. And yeah, it's this was just such a great conversation, and I'm so happy that we have connected. And um,
Thank you.
I'm really happy that you were able to share your experience, your life experience, and also the great things you're doing. And love to hear how the hub has grown. And like you said, you you were tested in every way as a startup,
Mhm.
like right before, starting right before a worldwide pandemic where everything shut down. And, every challenge that could have been thrown your way most likely was thrown your way. And you've still managed to grow, to grow your hub. And it's just really, really great. Like you said, people with disabilities, we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here. We're going to be uh, in your communities and in your stores, and every single person, every one of us living here has some type of skill and some type of thing that we can offer and create, for the world to see. And it's such a great thing that you've created there. And I wish you all the best. Can you tell everyone where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, so www.sneindia.com is our website. It also has a shopping portal. But right now it's not active on international payment gateway, I guess. So we'll have to get there. It's only national as yet. But yeah, we can still take orders and have it shipped depending on the pandemic. You can go through our products, and we have a wide variety starting from from office stationery to bags to pouches and utility home decor. And with the pandemic, we were also with the masks, so you could actually go through our products on the shopping portal. So we'll be there on okay, www.sneindia.com, and our Insta handle is SNE Products. So you can also look there, because obviously Instagram is the way to go these days, and we're seeing a lot of traction, and we are so happy that I should personally thank you, Tastrin, because it is only because of Instagram that I got to know about our view. And when I was just browsing through the kind of work you do, it's very, very nice, because like even for a for an organization like SNE, we only talk about ourselves. But for a platform like you have created, to ask people to talk about themselves and to create the awareness and to change the tone of disability is actually what caught me when I was going through, when I was scrolling, and I said, okay, stop, let's follow. And I was also quite attracted by the green, purple, and the blue, uh, and
Yes.
the and the posters that you used to put up. And whatever you said about disability changing the tone was highly resonated with me, the last 6 months when you're going through Instagram. So I should basically thank you for even for giving us this platform to talk about SNE worldwide, globally. So it's really nice. And we would also be happy if people could reach out to us to say, what are all the skills or the kind of training that is happening across the globe, because that could also be a way to help each other. There's something that we are doing, we would like to share. It would just be like some knowledge sharing platform, and it will just benefit the entire special community. So there must be there might be something new that people across the globe are trying. So if there is something like that, and people come across, kindly reach out to us, share it with us. We would also be happy to share whatever we are doing. And if something is mutual, somewhere we can get connected, somewhere we could be mutually useful to each other. I think that's where we want to go right now. This hub and spoke is within South India. Slowly we want to get it to India, and if it's going globally, there's nothing like it, because we just want people to be together, as I said, and doing whatever they are doing happily, and creating that economic independence in the on the way.
Our view is really about our view as people who live with disabilities. And it's not just the people who live with disabilities, but it's about their family members. It's about
True.
places that employ people with disabilities, anyone who is helping those with disabilities, and um, to share our stories and to share our experiences of what we encounter, and the inaccessibility and other forms of discrimination, and just the way uh, the things that we are doing to make things better for those who live with disabilities. Because, as we said, like, we're not going anywhere. We're here. We're here. We're living in your communities. I always say we're shopping in your stores, and we're out in the street and in your community. We're at the parks, and we're doing things. So we all, again, as to echo what you said before, like, we all have to figure out how to live together and just make it work for everybody. And so it's really really great, and I'm grateful for you taking the time to speak with me. And I will definitely be in touch with you soon, and look forward to hopefully working with you in some kind of way in the future.
Sure, that's great. And same here. It was totally a pleasure. And I think I took more than an hour. And
Fine.
it's really, really nice. And, you ask me to start talking about special need, it would just be nonstop.
This concludes this episode of the Our View podcast. We thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our YouTube channel. Make sure you're following us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for more disability-related content at Our View for Life. That's OURVIEW, the number 4, LIFE. Thanks for listening.